mentioned over the last year is what were we going to do about the red light camera business? And what were we going to be able to accomplish in the way of really helping the citizens get rid of those cameras once and for all? Well, we have an attorney that you couldn't pay any amount of money for what he's doing right now, who's written a 28-page court briefing for this court. We have already found out the shenanigans that are going on inside the court. Anytime an attorney represents somebody on a red light ticket, it gets dismissed. Do you know why? Because if it's dismissed, you cannot appeal it. Most average citizens don't know how to go out and file an appeal, but an attorney sure does, and Singer is not letting that happen right now. So the bottom line is, if I can't get the court in a position to appeal, then the system keeps issuing these tickets against the citizens because they don't know how to appeal or they can't afford to appeal. And we're going to dismiss attorneys who bring red light tickets forward because we know those attorneys are setting us up for an appeal. So those are the shenanigans that are going on in the courthouse in the background. The only other thing that you can do is sue to bring an injunction against the city to stop this, and then bring the case out in that particular fashion. If you don't know it on the red light tickets, a group of people that do not want to see the red light cameras go away went to the California State Supreme Court and said, we want you to unpublish this Orange County verdict making lights unconstitutional so that it cannot be used as a precedent in court in any future date. So consequently, the California State Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to unpublish the Orange County Register. Now that same group could have came and said, we want that whole case thrown out, and they did not, because they knew California Supreme Court was not going to throw that case out because it's solid as a rock. Arizona's already gone down that path, and so have some other cities in other states. So it's solid. So what they were going to try to do was just simply unpublish the case so that it could not be used as precedent. The California Supreme Court said no. So now it's on the books. And the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy who file in different districts. Orange County is a different district of the appellate court than is San Bernardino and High Desert. Since our appellate court has not ruled on this yet, Orange County doesn't necessarily trump Judge Singer from issuing a red light camera ticket. So, consequently, and I'm going to be right with you, buddy. Hold on. The issue that we've got with the appellate court right now is that the court is playing shenanigan games so that we cannot get to the appellate position. That having been said, we had councilmen who verbally came out and said, and I'll use Rothschild for an example, we have contractual obligations. And Clint Air cornered him right here and said, no, wait a minute, that doesn't make it right. If it's unconstitutional, it's unlawful. He goes, in your opinion. And he said, no, not in my opinion, in the opinion of the appellate court. And Rothschild said, well, if there's an appellate court hearing, I'd know about it. And Clint said, well, apparently not. The situation that I've got with Rothschild's comments is that another council member said the same thing to me, and so did the city manager. We've got contractual obligations. And the cue is, it doesn't matter. You're an elected official under the oath to defend and protect the Constitution before anything else. Your contractual obligations are secondary to your obligations to defend and uphold the Constitution. And they didn't get it. And for the first time I saw Ryan McCackran start to look at me with that thing like all of a sudden the freaking lights were coming on. And I called him today and I said, Ryan, look, bud, you can come down on the right side of this thing. If you understand, if I took you to Korea to the DMZ today, and I showed you how much the Koreans believe in what we do in America, and if I drug you over to Europe and all these places where there was blood everywhere, these people live like it was yesterday. You don't understand. The level of respect and responsibility you have at your ground level is not unlike what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. The Constitution was read out loud to every member, and they either ground every single law and policy in the Constitution, or it will not be allowed to be heard on the floor. And Brian, I said, that's what's happening in your backyard right now on the red light cameras in your city. You are being held to the exact same standard that Congress is being held to. And it is why the Tea Party is alive right now, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of this. But Brandon tells me the court has hampered him with another situation, and that is that he cannot take everybody that got a red light ticket under one day and one time and bring all the cases forward under the same merit, that this is unconstitutional. The court is making him do them one at a time and putting one in the morning and one in the afternoon and making his life miserable. The opinion of the court is that the criminal court that he works in at the other end of the hallway is, you got to be kidding me. He's stuck in traffic court doing what? Go get him and tell him to get back down here right now. Because this guy's looking at 10 to 15 years, and that's going to take precedence over traffic court. So Brandon finds himself that even as much as he knows he's got this ability to bring this thing to a cure, and that he could do it in mass or he could do it individually with an appellate court situation, he is finding that the switch is turned off here and the switch is turned off there each time he goes down a road. So we're going to kind of do an end run before we do the hard work of having to go do the pick and shovel by going through the court system. And we're going to go directly to the city council, to the elected officials who owe the oath to defend the Constitution, to offer them the chance to turn the switch off at their level. Now, Ryan said one other thing to me. He said, Bill, he goes, the last thing I want to do is get burned at the stake because I went out and spent $145,000, $200,000, or whatever the case might be, to pay to have these cameras pulled out. He goes, would you be able to get me a letter from your Tea Party members that are telling me that I wouldn't be held responsible for that misuse of taxpayers' money? I said, are you kidding, Ryan? You inherited this. You didn't put him in. And that's kind of what you told us when you were on stage up here. So I said, yeah. I said, the Tea Party's already got stacks of stuff like that. See, man, this is the next hardest working guy that stays in touch and constantly reminds me and trips the calendar and rolls up his sleeves, and his day is as busy as mine. I think he gets up a lot earlier than I do. I work a lot later. But the fact is, Ryan wanted to know if we could produce a letter that said that we would not hold him personally at harm. I said, Ryan, you step up like that, buddy. Now you're talking. I don't have a problem with that. And I said, but do you understand where I'm coming from with the constitutional obligation? Do you understand the size and the magnitude of what it is and what you have the opportunity to do here? I said, and I know where you came from. It does not pay for anything bad to happen to Victorville. It does not affect Apple Valley and Hesperia. So I said, I want to see you come out on top. I want to see you do the right thing. I want to see you bring Jim Kennedy. Because Jim Kennedy got up on the stage for Victorville City Council, and he walked right into a bear trap. He says, you know, I don't even care about that red light camera thing. I got bigger things to worry about. Was anybody here that night? And the crowd went, roar! And I went, oh, gee, Jim, look, you might want to reconsider that. This is kind of a red hot topic around here, and I know it's your first night. And after the meeting, he goes, Bill, he goes, well, what was that about? I said, man, we have been all over this red light camera thing. And with Orange County having an appellate court decision against this, we're just trying to get this thing in the right place, in the right queue, and it's going to be the Tea Party that drives this thing home. And I said, it's important because it's killing every little guy at the street for every little thing that goes wrong. I said, Jim, I said, look how old we are. We grew up our whole lives running through yellow lights, and it never killed us. You got too many things you're making a decision on, front way, behind you, in front of you, to the left and the right. Is the guy going to hit me, whatever? And now everybody's panic braking, and they're nailing the brakes, they're getting rear-ended, they're zooming through the light, and now you want to give them a speeding ticket. I said, not going to happen, man. I said, you need to get on the right side of the issue. So Kennedy came back the second time, but this time the crowd wasn't on him as much for the red lights as they were, hey, what about the $520 million? So with ebbs and flows, the second time it wasn't as serious. Now it's even more serious. And it was McCachran, if you don't know, that opened up the door to get Brandon Wood at the microphone for 15 minutes. And you gotta love new council members. He said, would your people trade their time in the 3-minute comment cards for Brandon to come forward and speak for all of you for 10 or 15 minutes? And Clint said, yeah, I'll trade my time, and I'm sure other people would, to hear Brandon Wood explain to you the constitutionality of this issue. And so we got there, and we got there without the other council members saying no, no, and no. Cabrialis didn't object, to the best of my understanding, and neither did Rothschild, and neither did, well, obviously Angela. But now that having been done, red light camera. You're about to see a massive headline in here, and I told Ryan McCaffrey, I said, you ever play softball where you play work-up softball? Does anybody know what that is, where the batter strikes out, and then if you strike out, you got to go to right field. The next guy strikes out, then you go to center field, to left field, to third base, to shortstop, to second, and you work your way back up from pitcher to catcher, and you get to bat again. And as long as you're batting and staying on base, you get to stay there as long as you want, and everybody else gets out, so it's rotation. He goes, no, I never played that. I said, what you need to do, Ryan, is you need to remember that as serious as this is, you got to have a little fun. The Tea Party's going to bring the baseball game to your house. We're going to bring the people. We're going to bring the professionals. We're going to give you the information that you need. And I said, don't look at it like it's adversarial. Look at it like a learning curve. And we're here to help you. The Tea Party's going to put some things in focus for you. And I need to get this red light camera thing out of our way so that we can press on with other issues. You're going to see a couple more articles in the newspaper in depth about AB 32.